Hi everyone, this is Alan Rosinski from Metro Manhattan Office Space. Good evening. Today I'd like to discuss mistakes that tenants can avoid when they look at commercial space. Very frequently, companies are starting a business, they haven't been in the market for 5 years, they really don't know what to look for, and they can make several fundamental mistakes. A biggie and a major one is not actually measuring the usable square footage, which really comes into play if you're in New York City and you're in the market for an office space. There's rentable square footage and usable square footage, and usable is less than the rentable square footage. I have another video posted on that, but you should always take the time to actually measure a space to see how it compares with the rentable square footage. Another biggie is not looking at elevator capacity. If you are leasing space in an above grade environment where you need elevators to access your space, you should see if there's a wait around 9 a.m. in the morning when people get to work, around lunchtime, around 5 p.m., because you don't want your staff to have to wait 15 minutes every day to get to your office on the 15th floor, or to get lunch around 1 o'clock, or to leave at 5 p.m. That really adds up. And I mean, I've seen a lot of situations where tenants don't ask about this, and they're shown space at 10, 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And this issue only becomes apparent after they have moved into the space. And I mean, it can be a real headache, and cumulatively over a 5-year lease, waste a lot of man hours just waiting in the lobby for an elevator. Now, another thing which I see is a common mistake is not really studying public transportation in the area, what subway lines access an office building, a store. Is the public transportation, the subways, the buses, the trains, are they convenient for the staff and for clients? Now, what will happen if it's not convenient for your team? That could increase turnover if members of your team, employees, have to commute an inordinate amount of time because a site was selected without taking their commute into account. And even worse is if you inconvenience clients. So that's something which is really important to remember. Seems kind of basic, but you'd be surprised how frequently companies do not take a location into account. Another thing which I notice frequently is, and it's easy to overlook, is not keeping in mind potential development sites, garages, sites that can be turned into hotels, condos, and create a lot of noise and disturbance. Run into frequent situations when I show office space and there's a vacant lot across the street. I'm always asking on behalf of my clients, the managing agents, the landlords, if there's any construction scheduled, if there's, if any site is going to be built during the term of the lease. I always tell my clients that, because that could really be disturbing and noisy. Another thing, this is a biggie, and I hear this, and I'm really adamant. If somebody calls me, this is like a classic, and they want me to send them photos of particular spaces, the spaces themselves, the lobbies, the quarters. First of all, I'm a real estate broker. I'm not a professional photographer. Second of all, it's a total waste of time, because if you're going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, to lease a space, you want to physically inspect the premises. Photos aren't going to tell you if the lobby smells, has a bad odor, if there's a long wait for the elevators, what the infrastructure of the building is like, what the block is like. Also, with some of these high quality full frame cameras with wide angle lenses, it is possible to make a space look a lot larger and a lot more appealing than it actually is. So if you're really serious about leasing a space, take the time to physically inspect alternatives. and I see that frequently, that spaces will be vetted based on photos, and tenants are losing opportunities because it's the wrong way to go about things. Always research a potential location as much as possible. Google the landlord. Google the address. If you're represented by a broker, ask them if they've done business with the landlord, if they've done other deals in the building, what they know about the building, in their opinion, what the downsides, what the pluses are, because as professionals, they should know. And, I've seen many situations over the years where companies don't do their due diligence, and once they've signed a lease, a 10-year lease, they're kind of stuck. And, sometimes this can turn ugly. There's actually litigation, not litigation, but a dispute going on now, which was reported in the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal, involving a restaurant called the Art Bird and Whiskey Bar, which happens to be owned by Lady Gaga's father, Joe Germanato. And what Mr. Germanato is claiming is that his sales are down greatly because he's located in the food concourse at Grand Central Station, and his claim is that there's been a great increase in the homeless population, and his receipts have declined 30%, and he's withholding $280,000 of rent, and he wants the MTA, who manages Grand Central Station, to reduce his rent or release him from his rent. These things, if you don't research things carefully, can get ugly. I mean, I actually did some research on Google myself, and there were articles in the New York Post before Mr. Germanato signed his lease, I think in 2016, 2017, talking about homelessness at Grand Central. So I don't know what happened. Maybe he didn't do his research. Maybe his broker didn't inform him. This dispute's occurring in the winter. Also, what happens in New York City, it's cold. Homeless need some place to go, and the MTA is not going to throw them out. It would be inhumane. I mean, assuming they don't break any laws or violate any regulations. They need a place to stay, and so it's a bit of a problem. What I suspect could happen or should happen in the situation is this restaurant will get some form of an abatement, or it'll be litigated. Who knows? But you just don't want to sign the lease for a space and find that you have find any reason why the space won't work for you or be involved in any disputes. You want to nip these sorts of problems in the bud by doing your due diligence. And I hope these pointers I provided you, in the event that you're looking for a space in the future, will help you find the right space. Hope you have a nice evening. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Good night, and until the next time. Bye.